What's up YouTube, ProTech here, back with another StarCraft 2 video for you today. Before we get into the games here, I want to give a big shout out to Luigi for the $5 donation. Really appreciate that. And if you didn't watch the first YouTube video, this is going to be video number 2 of the 30-day ban series. So without further ado, let's get into the matches. Alright, we got a TZ versus ZR on the Dusty Gorge.
광물이 부족합니다. 광물이 부족합니다.
So in my opinion, the best build in this matchup is Mech Muta. So I'll be going Mech. Teammates' build order looks pretty good so far.
보급고가 부족합니다.
Got the Reaper. Now I just want to delay his expansion as long as I can. I think even if I do stay longer, it's not worth it.
보급고가 부족합니다.
여긴 못 지켰는데요.
So here I'm doing something a little unorthodox, where I'm going tank. I'm doing like a mini push here. Getting supply cap definitely wasn't part of the plan though. And this is just a buy time for my teammate. I mean, it's quite clear he has a massive advantage over the opponent, Zerg. Now you see here, the decision for my teammate to go for Mutila or Roaches may end up making us lose this game. That's gotta be Muta. And this is the problem you run into when your teammates are going Roaches. I have to save my resources instead of taking a third, because I need Thors to be able to deal with the Muta. See, it's standard to go Muta Mech in this matchup. So the Terran opponent has a better teammate. Or maybe not a better teammate, but a better understanding of the meta. So I had to give up my map presence there when I was pushing because of Muta threat. So all that momentum is just gone because of his decision to go Roaches in this matchup. Terran player has way too much turret turtley defense going on, so it's better to attack Zerg here.
동맹이 공격받고 있습니다.
Still has turtley defense there too.
동맹 기지가 공격받고 에너지가 부족합니다. 동맹이 공격받고 있습니다. 동맹 기지가 공격받고 있습니다. 동맹이 공격받고 있습니다. 광맥이 고갈되었습니다. 동맹이 공격받고 있습니다. 동맹이 공격받고 있습니다.
It's all safe. Something I couldn't stop and say no. It's all safe.
So you can kind of see the complication that you create when you don't go for the right compositions in certain matchups. Instead of having to build 3 Thors, all I would have had to build was tank and Hellion, and continue to be able to apply the pressure, right?
광맥이 고갈되었습니다. 보급고가 부족합니다. 업그레이드 완료.
But the value of Thors that game was pretty insane, right? So, alright, boys. Moving on to game number 2 of the video. We got a ZT versus Zerg Random on the Dusty Gorge.
Some things never change. I couldn't stop and say no. It's all safe, but you won't take the blame, even when you are blowing up. Oh my, you're my broken love. Nobody's gonna save and oh my, you're my broken love.
광물이 부족합니다.
And the barcode has left the game. So that when this happens, it kind of changes the opener.
광물이 부족합니다. 광물이 부족합니다. 광물이 부족.
The issue with this situation is that because the barcode has left the game, his economy
광물이 부족합니다.
is really, really high.
광물이 부족합니다.
It basically just means that the one opponent that we're playing against right now has double the economy. So this can create for a lot of really super imbalanced rushes, right? So you have to prepare for that. And the problem is that if you SCV scout this, then that really just puts everything really far behind if the opponent does decide to do what I call the eco cheese. So after, you know, many trial and error of figuring out how to play against this, the best way that I have found is to one base and just kind of hope that whatever one base you're playing counters his ridiculously high economy. I see my teammate here is making a mistake. Like, you don't you don't want to open gasless as a Zerg player in 2v2. And you certainly don't want to do it in a scenario where the opponent has basically quadrupled the economy. Sometimes it can pan out, but more often than not, it does not pan out.
동맹이 공격받고 있습니다. 광물이 부족합니다.
So if he's playing his race Terran and he opened Marines, that just means he's massing Marines. So
보급고가 부족합니다.
we're going to mass Reapers, and we're going to put 2 bunkers on the low ground.
광물이 부족합니다. 광물이 부족합니다. 광물이 부족합니다.
And just try to trade the best you can before he actually gets to the bunkers, right? Because essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to trade well so that you can kill his additional economy. And then once you wipe out all of his drones here, he can't abuse the infrastructure that he's already created.
보급고가 부족합니다.
I did see a Hellion there, so I'm gonna make a an engineering bay. Because when you see a Hellion, there's a good chance there's a starport, right? Could be a waste, but it's kind of hard to get the scout when his infrastructure is so high because of the economic cheese.
동맹이 공격받고 있습니다. 광물이 부족합니다.
And that, my friends, is going to conclude game 2 of the series today. Game number 3 of the video. We got 2 Zerg versus Terran Random on the Emerald City. This is actually can be kind of hard to play against because this map is really good for Zerg. So here I'm gonna wall the low ground. Try to keep the early rushes out of the base. I think we might have a little bit of a problem in the teammate department this game. I really hate to go into macro games when your teammate has an opener like this. After you have played as many games as I've played, you start to, like, you can see the play patterns of people at the very start of the game. and it becomes quite apparent when they're decent and when they're not decent. And I can tell you this guy is not decent. So, needless to say, this is going to be kind of a difficult game. Because two Zerg is actually way better than Protoss. So I'm not really sure what I should do here, because frankly I still haven't figured out how to play 1v2 when you're on an even footing. But I think I should probably be going, I should probably try to do some kind of immortal timing. So I think what I'll do is I will save all of my chrono boost for the robotics. Try to do some kind of an immortal timing. Essentially, the only thing that I can really hope for here is that the opponents are equally as bad as my teammate. Because if they're not, I'm kind of screwed. So we're going to wait till we have 3 immortal. Then we'll start walking across the map with whatever gateway units we have. And we'll chrono boost that warp prism to be able to reinforce as we attack. Just gotta make sure we don't get supply cap for the push. Might as well build an observer for those creep tumors. Okay, let's wait for the prism. Go after the hatch. That was really bad force fields. I don't know what I was thinking there. So we're trading really well here, and I want to have a backup plan, so I'm just going to start chrono boosting probes. Getting a Twilight, getting a Forge. So we're actually gonna be going Immortal Archon Sentry. We'll follow it up with another 2-base push since we're trading really well. The nice part about this push is that even if you ever find yourself in a sticky situation, you can just recall. Actually, I have no idea why I just lost an adept there. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to conclude game number 3 of the video today. So, as suspected, my teammate was relatively low rank. And that's what prompted the decision to do that type of a build, because when you go into a macro game against 2 players who know what they're doing, you don't really stand much of a chance anyway. So really, realistically, the best option is just to do something, get in their face, and try to end the game there. What's up, boys? Just making a quick part to this video today. I've spent the last 2 hours trying to avoid Prototype and Load Blaster. So even if I'm not streaming, they're still trying to get into my game. And just to kind of show you. So he hadn't played on his account for about 6 days. And then after 6 days, he gets into my game here. And of course, I just leave it. And you can clearly see he has not queued up since then. He's just been spamming me and talking shit, stuff like that. So, you know, this just kind of reinforces what I've always been talking about. You know, it doesn't matter if you're streaming or you don't streaming. If you're not streaming, the map hackers are just going to be able to get into your game and, you know, harass you and whatever, regardless of whether you're streaming or not. But yeah, it's definitely it's definitely kind of ridiculous. One of these days, Blizzard really needs to get on this and make sure that they start taking care of the game a little better than what they do now. All right, boys, next game of the video series today. Let's go. We got a PR versus TR. Alright, so this game is pretty mismatched. Both of my opponents are of reasonable skill. However, in the load screen, I can see that my teammate is not particularly high skill, but there's always the possibility that he's smurfing, and I can see on a minimap that he's taking a gas, and it looks like kind of a normal build. But the Protoss player I'm playing against here does some really awkward stuff when he plays. So going for 1 gate expand here is not the greatest of ideas, and I can see that my teammate is proxying. So we're gonna proxy as well. And based off of the build that the Protoss player in this game does all the time, this is actually pretty decent. But he's proxying in a way that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, right? Like, you want to get it close to the base. That's not really close to the base. Plus, not to mention, we're also playing against a Zerg player, so this aggression generally doesn't work very well. And he's proxying a reactor, like... It's very unlikely that this will be successful. But if you want to make your teammates build work here, you kind of need to synergize with him in some way. So going for like a standard macro play really isn't advisable in a situation like this. Again, I don't really think this will work, but it's kind of the only option that I have. But we shall see how it goes. So he usually goes, there's a Stargate back there too, because he does the same build every single time he plays. So I have to build the batteries in case of the oracles that show up. Oh, that's DT. Fuck. Wow, this isn't gonna work because of those DTs. He never built a... My teammate never built an orbital command. Lol. So this is definitely a problem. With no orbital command, I don't think we have kill pressure here. Yes, got it. I don't understand why he doesn't make that an OC like instantly. Come on, man. Zergling run by. And I'm fucking capped, man. Can't believe I got capped there. Fuck. So I'm not going to be able to win this game, I think. Yeah, it's really unfortunate, but this teammate is, like I mentioned at the start of this game, he's not really up to snuff with everybody else in the game. So it was pretty close. The issue in this game was that the Protoss player, 99% of the time, he goes Warp Prism. Well, he goes Gateway, Forge, Core, Cannon, Stargate, Robo, right? But that game, he went for DTs instead of Oracles, which is not something I was expecting. So had I been expecting that, I would have made a Robo a lot sooner. But we could clearly see that the reason we lost last game was because my teammate never built an orbital command on his main. He proxied in probably the worst possible locations that he could proxy. The composition that he went for was pretty bad. And then he was like expanding at the corners of the map and stuff like that. So realistically, if you get Protoss and you have to 1v2 off of one base, it's really never going to happen, because that's just kind of how Legacy of the Void is designed. From the Protoss perspective, you need to have 2-base economy to really get everything you need to make it work against 2 players. So, just out of curiosity, let's take a look at the ranks from last game. So we can see that my teammate from last game, his highest career finish in 1v1 was Platinum. And he played, I would say he played more like Gold in that game. And then his highest career finish in 2v2 was Diamond, right? So then if we compare that to the other players that we were playing against, we can see that this guy has finished 23 times in Master, 2 times in Diamond. He's got exponentially more games. So while he's not very good, he was able to eke out the victory because of the mismatch. And where the problem lied in last game was that the Zerg player knew what he was doing. So we compare that to this guy, to my teammate, and we can see 11 times Master, 22 times Master in team games. So the overall skill level in this game was basically imbalanced and not in my favor in any way. So feels bad, but that's just kind of the risk that you take when you play random 2v2. When your MMR gets too high and you get to a certain MMR, and that certain MMR is 4.7k, that's when the matches start to get really, really lopsided for you, and the system just thinks that, well, you're good enough to carry somebody of a much lower rank, right? Which we know in Legacy of the Void is not true. So it's a little unfortunate we lost this game. I feel like if I had known that the Protoss player was deviating from the norm, then it probably would have been a lot easier to win. Because then we were going to kill them, right? But the DTs came out, and my teammate never built an orbital command on his command center, which is what you're supposed to build after the first racks, right? And it's not as if he needed mules, so he could have had like 3 scans at the time of our push, and we could have kept pushing when we traded really well against those Lings and the Zealots and all that stuff that was in the base on the initial push when we killed the expansion, right? So this is just a prime example of botched matchmaking and kind of the things that you have to learn to accept when you play random 2v2, because the matchmaking isn't always going to go in your favor. Unfortunate, with a different teammate, that would have been a sealed deal. Oh well, moving on. Alright, boys, next game of the series. Today, we got a ZR versus an ZR. Oh, it's a mirror matchup. This can get a little tricky, because it's kind of a coin flip in this matchup. And on this map, you can't really scout things in time. So I think for me, I believe that the matchmaking has gone in my favor this game, but I've never actually seen the Zerg opponent before, so I actually have no idea if he's smurfing or what is going on there. I've seen my teammate before. I know he's not like the best player, but generally good enough to eke out a victory. But I feel like it's really going to come down to builds and kind of whether or not that Zerg opponent is smurfing on a lower ranked account or not. So this game is just, I'm just going to be opening with like standard build, you know, nothing fancy. Not going to scout because I don't want to give away my race. I'd rather just play the coin flip side of it. The build I'm going for here is it's not good against Zerg. It's really bad against Zerg. But when you think about it, there's a 33.3% chance that they got 2 Zerg. So there's a much higher percent chance that opening with the build I'm opening with will end up being good. Oops. Saw something over here. I think that must have been an overlord. Generally like to wait until after I start the blink upgrade to build the extra production. Timing just works out a lot better if you do it this way. But we haven't scouted anything, and so I don't know what the tech is, meaning I need to build a robo in case of some kind of cloak play, right? Still don't know what the race is, so we're playing this pretty blindly. They did scout his third, and that's why he's making wings. But I'm gonna start setting up some defenses in my mineral line. You know, in case of an Oracle or in case of a Banshee or something like that. So here's when it gets a little tricky, like you gotta make a choice. Are you gonna take a third or are you gonna go up to your gases and tech? Choice for me is to take a third. As far as I can tell in this game, they still don't have any third bases, and I still don't know what the race is. And it's a Terran player doing DC. That looks like a Nidus network. Overlord. Okay, I'd say we handled that pretty well, or I should say I handled that pretty well. So it feels like we're in a pretty good spot here. Circling run by. Lost my observer down there. So I'm assuming Muta Mech, and if it's Muta Mech, I should probably just go Immortal Blink Stalker. Archon. But we really don't have much information. Terran player doesn't look like he has a third, but he should have a third. And it should be at the gold. So the Terran player is only just now taking his third. Oh shit, that's a drop. Oh, that's not a drop, that's just scout. I'm gonna try to take out that third base. recall there. Fuck. And denied us. Oh, he proxied. I don't feel good about attacking up that. Looks like we got a base trade going on here. So, you know, like I mentioned before, once you get to that 4.7k mark, the matchmaking gets kind of bad, right? And so, once you get below that 4.7k mark, the games start to even out a little bit. Man, the game was pretty straightforward. I don't actually think this guy's a Terran player. I think he's mainly a Zerg player. Race report, 2v2. Wow, I guess he hasn't played a whole lot this season. Let's take a look at all. Yeah, okay, so this guy, like, when we look at the races here, we can clearly see that he's a Zerg player. He's a Zerg main, right? So 44% with Terran, 62% with Protoss, 54% with 3K games, right? So that's part of the reason why that Terran player really didn't have anything the entire game. He just doesn't know how to play Terran, right? But solid play on my part. Teammate didn't do terrible. Seemed like the match was more or less favored for me in that game. And that's part of the reason why I only got 5 division points and 6 MMR. So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. I put a lot of time and a lot of effort into it. So, you know, if you guys like this content, if you want me to keep making it like this, you can... down in the description below, there will be 2 links. One for Streamlab donations, and then the second one for direct donations. You can do it however you like. It really doesn't matter one way or the other. But those are 2 options for you if you like this content and you want it to continue. Any comments, feedback on how I'm doing the YouTube videos? If you don't like it, if you like it, let me know. I will take all of that feedback and criticism into consideration when going forward for the next 30 days with how I create the content. Your feedback is definitely important to me. I like to cater the videos to what the majority likes, right? So let me know in the comments below what you think, if you like how I do it, etc., etc. Hit the subscribe button. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, hit the dislike button. And all of that good stuff. And I do want to thank you all very much for watching it today. And I'll see you with the next one. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Peace out.